They want you to believe this is just speech, just politics, just noise. But listen closely, because in this hearing, a single word is used to excuse everything. A magic word that turns enforcement into persecution and consequences into danger. A non-citizen is accused of endorsing extremism. The government alleges fraud. And instead of a clear answer, you get a lecture, a dodge, a narrative shield. This isn't just a debate. It's a test of whether America still has borders, standards, and the courage to enforce them. And what happens next shows you why.
Mr. Stern, if I could just start with you. I see that 5 or 6 days ago you gave an interview in which you said that the removal of Mahmoud Khalil, the pro-Hamas foreign rioter, is a form of McCarthyism and makes Jewish students less safe. Now, this is an individual who has been accused of endorsing and espousing terrorist activity, who has been accused of lying on his application to a green card in the United States, who is currently being sued for terrorizing and assaulting Jewish students. Do you stand by your view that trying to remove him is a form of McCarthyism?
Absolutely, Senator.
Why in the world would that be the case?
Let me answer. He hasn't been charged with the crime. The clear predicate for this, White House said, was handing out pro-Hamas propaganda. When you start talking about people's views and what they're talking about in the public square as a basis for discrimination, and then the effect on Jewish students, it's not just the fact that Jews may be seen as, well, we're pushing this and that's going to happen. The way that this is going to harm Jewish students is it harms the academy.
Wait a minute. My time is limited. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just wait a minute. I've got to correct numerous inaccuracies there. Number one, as you very well know, United States law says that a non-citizen is inadmissible for entry into this country if they, and I quote, endorse or espouse terrorist activity or persuade others to do the same. That same law provides you can be removed for the same reasons. That is what Mr. Khalil has been accused of. He has further been accused of, by the United States government, lying on his visa application. That on its own would be sufficient to remove him from this country. He is being sued, as you and I sit here in New York court, by the victims of October 7th for terrorizing and assaulting Jewish students, unlawfully taking over and damaging public university property, and physically assaulting Columbia University employees. And you're telling me that it's McCarthyism to remove this individual?
Senator, the deportation was started before that lawsuit, before that second question about what he was saying on his forms.
No, this is what the government has alleged in open court, Mr. Stern. This is the basis for their removal proceedings. And our law makes clear if you endorse or espouse terrorist activity, you can be removed from this country. He has done so. He's been accused of doing so from the beginning. He's been accused of lying to get into the country. I'm amazed that you're saying that this is McCarthyism.
Senator, you weren't here when I quoted part of what Justice Brandeis was talking about the back at a case where there's somebody that was convicted for supporting the Communist Party because they were talking about violence as a political solution. And Brandeis cautioned us that this type of robust speech, as long...
This isn't speech. Lying on a visa application is not speech. Seeking to assault Columbia University employees and Jewish students is not speech. You are defending an individual who has espoused the destruction of this country, the destruction of the state of Israel, the destruction of Jews, and has taken actions in furtherance of the same. You've also said that investigating the 60 colleges and universities that are currently under investigation by the Trump administration for anti-Semitism is a form of weaponizing anti-Semitism for political benefit. You're opposed to investigating these institutions for anti-Semitism?
Senator, I've been very clear that OCR has a very important role, that there are complaints that should go through the process. When you start using the Department of Justice and threatening universities' funding...
You are opposed, I just want to get this on the record, you are opposed to investigating Columbia University and others for anti-Semitism?
No.
That's what you said 6 days ago.
I am not opposed to doing it the right way.
What does that mean, doing it the right way?
Not to claw back funds, not to say we're holding you ransom. We're getting your faculty, Jewish...
You were asked about an investigation for failing to protect Jewish students, and you said that's just weaponizing anti-Semitism. It makes students less safe.
It is when the Department of Justice has a list of places they want to go to. The Senator Markey's question.
Oh, I heard Senator Markey's questions. I heard his whole speech. I thought it was insane. I just want to say for the record, I thought it was totally insane. And I think your positions are similarly insane. I think the idea that we would bend over backwards to hug and kiss and make nice to a pro-Hamas rioter, because that's what Khalil is, and that we would say, we can't remove him, and that makes Jewish students less safe on our campuses? That's nuts.
Senator,
That's nuts.
To Rabbi Saberstein's point, if you look at American history, the times when Jews were most vulnerable was during the Palmer raids in World War I, when there was political...
Jews are vulnerable now on our campuses because of people like Khalil, and I want to say for the record, I'm glad he's gone, and I hope he never comes back.
This exchange isn't really about one man. It's about a pattern, because the witness doesn't start with the people being targeted. He doesn't start with the students who felt hunted on campus. He doesn't start with the basic principle that a nation has the right, no, the duty to decide who gets to stay. He starts with a label, McCarthyism. And that label isn't an argument. It's a warning shot. It's meant to tell you, don't enforce the law. If you do, you're the villain. Even if the allegations involve endorsing terrorist activity, even if the government alleges immigration fraud, even if there are accusations tied to intimidation, harassment, or violence. But here's the part they glide past. Quietly, carefully, strategically. At no point do you hear a simple sentence like, if he lied on his immigration forms, he should be removed. You never get that. At no point do you hear, if he endorsed violence, that disqualifies him. You never get that either. Instead, you get abstractions, you get historical analogies, you get a pivot away from conduct and back to speech. And yes, America protects speech. We know that. We believe that. But this isn't just speech. This isn't just debate in the public square. This is also about status, eligibility, and national sovereignty. And that's where the moral inversion happens. Because the standard becomes, the stronger the accusation, the more the enforcement is treated as the true outrage. The more serious the allegation, the more we're told we must be careful not to act. Not because of due process matters, but because of politics. But let's ask the question they don't want asked. Why does the outrage always aim upward at the act of enforcement, instead of aiming outward at the behavior that made enforcement necessary in the first place? Why is the moral energy spent defending the system's softness instead of protecting the people who are being told to live with chaos? Then the conversation shifts to universities, and the same pattern repeats in a new costume. Investigate the right way, the witness says. That sounds responsible. That sounds measured. Until you realize what the right way means in practice. No leverage, no consequences, no pressure. Investigate, but don't enforce. Document, but don't deter. Write reports, but don't change outcomes. And that's how institutions learn the lesson. Nothing really happens. Not to the administrators who look away. Not to the systems that fail. Not to the ideologies that spread. Just headlines. Just hearings. Just talk. Now listen to what the senator does in response. He doesn't merely argue policy. He drags the conversation back to a line that has to exist in any functioning nation. If you're not a citizen, entry and continued presence are privileges shaped by law, not vibes. And if the law says certain conduct or fraud can be grounds for removal, then the question isn't, does enforcement feel rude? The question is, are we a country that applies the standard or a country that negotiates it with activists? This isn't just immigration, it's integrity. Because when enforcement becomes extremism and consequences become danger and accountability becomes weaponization, you don't end up with compassion. You end up with paralysis. And that paralysis doesn't protect Jewish students. It doesn't protect any students. It protects the people who learned how to game the system and the elites who are terrified to stop them. So here's what I want you to do. Watch that clip again and ask yourself, what was never said? What was dodged? What was softened? What was reframed? Then drop a comment. Because the way America answers that question next will decide what kind of country we're becoming. If you want more breakdowns like this, direct, unapologetic, and focused on what they refuse to say, subscribe, like, and share.